Target is the latest company to roll back some DEI programs because Donald Trump is a Nazi. Not really. That last part I made up. CNN reports New York. Target is joining a wave of U.S. companies pulling back on diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives as right-wing, that's a scare word there, right-wing pressure leads companies to alter their commitment to hiring diverse candidates and expanding access. Everyone knows that is as much crap as you can jam into one opening sentence as imaginable.
Well, any profit-seeking entity was looking to do this anyways. This just gave them the excuse to finally be able to do it and put the blame on someone else.
And CNN gets to call
exactly
the orange man bad for doing it. Target said in a statement Friday that it will end its 3-year diversity, equity, and inclusion goals. In 2022, the company said that those goals included ensuring equitable access to career advancement and equitable business decisions that increase relevance with diverse guests and support economic inclusivity. Target had also committed in 2020 to expand black representation at the company by 20%. I think we all around this table probably agree that these are terrible ideas because you're not hiring for competency, you're hiring based on skin color, and that's just straight up illegal in the United States. I mean, am I talking out of...
No, but the problem is now they talk about Trump's rolling back civil rights. Now people think of it in the opposite effect now.
Say it again?
Now, because they're talking about Trump rolling back civil rights because he's getting rid of these programs, they don't understand that's not what that is. So he's actually getting the blame despite the fact that what they were doing with these programs was already illegal.
But again, I think that person that you're the hypothetical person you're talking about is the person that watches, maybe 30 minutes to an hour of Jimmy Kimmel a week, and that's where they get their, they get their news from. which honestly is a terrible, terrible development. When you have people like Jimmy Kimmel that are the people that are giving the news to Americans.
The View.
The View is worse. I absolutely worse, but only marginally. But
there's also a lot of guilt by association in Americans who they see something like this and they say, yeah, I do come from a privileged background. Now, whether they do or they don't, or whether this other guy on the other side of the table has the same access as them, doesn't matter to them. So they don't see a problem in stuff like this, especially NIMBY white liberals out in the suburbs. They're not going to see a problem with programs like this.
You think the NIMBYs?
They're not in my backyards, because they're not they're not worrying about jobs at Target.
I don't mean to minimize getting rid of these DEI programs.
Minimize them.
But I will minimize them in a second. It feels like the government, kind of winks and nods and gives directions to these companies for what they want to see. In the past administration, it was that Joe Biden wanted to see them do more DEI stuff, so they did the window dressing for the DEI stuff. Now they don't want to be targeted or try to get in the good graces of the Trump administration. So you see not only these guys, but some of the tech bros like Jeff Bezos at Amazon, or I guess he's not at Amazon anymore, do the same thing where they're trying to get rid of these DEI initiatives and get in the good graces of the conservative government.
So do you think that this is? Do you think that this?
It's virtue signaling.
So you think that they were looking to get rid of these programs anyways, and that the getting rid of them is actually a way for them to get into the good graces.
Where they were already making cuts. So like if you actually go into, it's really funny. If you go into a lot of these companies and you look at the demographics, they haven't become more diverse. When you look at upper level management in tech companies, you can check this out for most of the large ones. It's still upwards of like 90% East Asian, we're not even talking about South Indian, like East Asian, and predominantly white men who are running like core engineering, core development, especially the executive department level like teams. And then it'll look and it'll be like, well, 50% of the employees are basically brown, gay, or a combination of some sort of melanation. And the thing is that what happens is that these jobs are actually able to be cut fairly easily, and they don't want these jobs at their companies. They're bloat, and a lot of this stuff isn't needed. You ever watch the videos of these
that's
little,
exactly
Asian girls going like, and I get a little soda at my office, and I type up a couple codes.
Oh, those are
your company knows your job is worthless too. And when the cuts came recently, the profits aren't there. They do the cuts for them first. Like, wow, everyone. I love how people will be like, we're winning woke. Microsoft cut 20,000 jobs. You're like, bro, they've been waiting for I agree with Elon. They've been waiting to cut these 20,000 jobs because once they had the financial excuse to tell the government, because at a certain level of a corporate, size, you have to have, the government does check in on your diversity quotas. It's unfortunate, but they do. You have to have evidence for why you made the cuts. And I just don't believe DEI is good for business. I believe it's annoying to people. And I do not think that the average consumer really wants to buy tucking underwear at Target or see gay flags while they're buying their coffee. Like I don't know anyone who cares outside of maybe Portland.
This was the same thing that happened in Hollywood after the strikes, and they immediately started cutting jobs like that. that and sending work over to Canada, work over to India, the first thing that they do is like, look, we're like telling you, like, look, the strike is going to hurt you. You're going to get what you want on paper. And the first thing they're going to do is send your work elsewhere. And that's exactly what happened. They were just looking for an excuse.
Yeah, it's like I want to go to the store without experiencing Ian's graphene dream. You know
How
what I
could
mean?
you?
Like, I'm just saying. You know what I mean?
It's the laptop jobs. It's the same thing people have been talking about for years. They're basically the people who go to do that. The ones who work for Google are just influencers that are used to make propaganda videos to make look how good it is to work at Google. But everybody knows like when Elon bought Twitter and he cut like 80% of the workforce and the website still worked.
And you're referring to those TikToks that you saw.
Yeah,
that
that's
people,
the
they'd
whole
be like,
point
Oh,
of that.
I'm going to work, and they'd essentially do like
A day in the
10
life of
minutes-
Google.
10
Yeah.
minutes of work in the whole video, and they'd have 3 different
Adult
meals
daycare.
and,
Well,
and
can I ask you a question, Phil? This is I genuinely want to know this because I joked on the earlier show today. You said you're an anti-communist. I was like, oh, are you a fascist? I was just messing with you. I know you're not, because fascists are anti-communist, and I'm not a fascist either. But I do want to know a good question. I know fascism is becoming very popular, particularly among a certain amount of the right wing, and no one can deny that, right?
Can we define it?
Shlomo 666
Well, it's
Anon might be in the chat tonight. Telling me to deport Elon, and I will do it later. Don't worry, Shlomo. No, but this.
Don't worry, I got the Mossad's back.
Yeah.
Or the CIA. Who knows?
I
It's the same,
found
right?
Tim's matzah in the green room, so I know he's his Mossad agent is here somewhere. But
It's right across from you.
yeah, I'm like
he's
somewhere.
APAC handler.
No, but okay. So look, I understand, and honestly, I understand it, right? This coalition
there was a question. in
Yeah,
there.
I'm asking.
Defend the
No, I'm
fascism,
saying I understand this idea of fascism. People don't understand this alignment of sort of the private and the public sector. The reason why I understand this is because what we kind of are seeing right now is that the private sector does take direction from the public sector. And if Trump is saying we're going to be a certain way, then the private sector lines up. And right now us, or a lot of us in this room at least, like where Trump is taking things. So we like where the private sector is going. When Biden's in, we don't like where it's going. And so we don't like the private sector.
So this is
How much should we be fighting for government strength like this or government control? Because we do have a direct alignment of our private and public.
Yeah.
Where do we set the limit? And why is fascism then wrong? Like, you're anti-communism. Why is that wrong?
So the idea that the government aligns with private industry, that's undeniable. And it would be my preference that we have a government that's small enough where they really don't have any influence federally, at the very least. If there are states that want to say, okay, you're going to operate in our state, these are the rules that you have to operate in our state. And then these companies can decide, I don't want to. And you saw that with like Tesla leaving California, with Oracle leaving California. I think, Joe Rogan, even though he's not a gigantic company, he left California. And you see people deciding, I don't like dealing with the regulations or whatever. I've moved multiple times because I didn't like what was going on in my state. I grew up in Massachusetts. I didn't like it. I decided to move to New Hampshire. I have a place there. And so I think that when you can make your federal government, when you can actually have your federal government reined in and make it actually abide by the rules laid out in the Constitution, I don't think that the United States qualifies as fascist that way. Like if you actually, especially if we could have some kind of miracle and have an amendment that clarifies the necessary and proper clause and clarifies the commerce clause, so that way the government wasn't using that to basically bully every single industry that it just, not just the industry, but people as well. So I don't think the United States is intended to be fascist. I think
Are we kind of though a little bit like a fascist light?
It's because
I blame.
Listen.
Are we there?
In the first half of the 20th century, that was all the rage, right? Before the Nazis, before the horrors of what the Nazis did became public knowledge, before everybody really knew, Woodrow Wilson and the League of Nations and all of this stuff that was going on from World War I and after World War I, this was all the rage. And it was normal for people to think, well, the government should do this and the government should do that, and et cetera, et cetera. That's when you get your FDRs and they have all of these policies and all these things that the government has built up. So personally, I'm the guy that wants to see the entire progressive agenda stripped away, right? And I go back to the way that the government was in 1900, because I don't want to see a big government. I want the smallest federal government that we can have. The states are empowered fully to do all sorts of things. And it's even in the Bill of Rights. The 10th Amendment says, look, if it's not listed here, then the states have the power. The Constitution is very clear. It is
So
just.
you want to go back to our government when we were like the most racist and the most like hegemonic? It's like
I didn't
everyone
say-
was like, I want a government. Libertarians like, I want a government to get back to the point when we were all racist.
So stop putting words in my mouth.
I'm joking. I'm
well,
saying
that's why I'm
joking.
clarifying to
But
stop putting words in my
but
mouth.
I'm saying I know what you mean. You're talking about that without the other stuff. But there is a lot of jokes about that. It's like maybe we've thrown the baby out with the bathwater, right? Maybe in the terms of trying to trying to progress past some faux pas or some issues in our society, we've sort of thrown out and gone too far.
The things that people think of when it comes to like the progress when it comes to like race stuff, right? So that's all in the 60s. All the stuff that really made the United States go from being a small government country to a big government country, that all happened long before the 60s, long before the Civil Rights era.
Depression, a lot of that stuff.
It was all stuff that actually did happen because of the Great Depression, and a lot of the things that we have now, they're vestiges of what was put in place to deal with what people would call excessive capitalism, or the way that capitalism behaves without regulations. I think that's totally wrong, especially nowadays when you have the ability to communicate as fast as we do, and with the type of technology that we have. I think that the reins that you put onto private companies, I think those are completely unnecessary, and they're antiquated, and they don't need to be, they could be revisited and taken away without any significant problem. And if there was significant problem, word would get around so fast that companies wouldn't be. I mean, you're not just if you got rid of child labor laws, right? You're not going to have like kids in coal mines again. That's just not going to happen. It's just period, right? It's not going to happen if you got rid of you're not going to have kids.
Child labor is called Fortnite and subscription
Girl
gaming
Scout
services
cookies.
on their iPad. They sit there and just money for the company.
Be rolling in Girl Scout.
Yeah.
Elijah,
But so my opinion is, I think that the federal government should be as small as possible. I don't think that we need a large government that works hand in hand with companies.
Can I ask you how though? Because I only bring a juxtaposition here is like, because I'm not trying to actually put words in your mouth. You know me, I just troll and toy a little bit, but I mean this in like terms of, we are a big government where a lot of people feel like we're either going to be communist or we're going to be fascist, and and I think a lot of the fascists are more like Christian nationalists. I'm saying, look, and I like your idea better. So like I do see everybody's ideas. I'm standing on the outside. I'm actually a dad, so I have 2 kids. People don't know, and I think when you have kids, it humbles the hell out of you because you have to think about how my decisions are going to affect their life, right? I know boomers are currently toasting their champagne in their jacuzzi that they bought on Afterpay, and kick their kids out at 18, enjoying their life. But some of us want our kids to be successful. But I mean, I look at my kids, I want them to be successful, and I'm thinking, okay, am I scoring points with a Christian Crusader 1488 on Twitter? That's not what I'm trying to do. Am I trying to get a job at the Daily Wire? Ben, I'll apologize. I'll take it. No, I didn't know. I'm not. I already put on a beanie. I'm ready. Come on, Ben. No, but I'm not. I'm just trying to be me with my family and figure out what's good for the country, like we all are. We're clearly divided. We all have all these utopian ideas, but the truth is both of these sides that are pushing fascists and communists, to me, they got one thing right. We do have a pretty damn freaking big government. That government is in control of the means of production and in a lot of ways in influencing it. Now, where does that go? You want to nuke it and shrink it, but like, is that a reality? Like, is there any way to nuke it without a full self-implosion? Because it's like, and I don't know. I'm not a historian, but I've looked at empires, looked at the Roman Empire. Eventually, it puttered out. It broke into other empires, but it's like, are we being utopian, Phil? Are we just being boomers, out-of-touch boomer utopian people where we're just like, I just want a small government, while these young Gen Zs are all going communist? They're either going full communist or full fascist. What do they see that we don't see? And why don't they believe we can shrink the government?
What I think they see is the shortcomings of the liberal economic order, right? But the thing that they don't understand is that the shortcomings of the liberal economic order are actually not as big of a deal when they're put into the context of what came before, right? So nowadays you've got all kinds of problems with, like, we talk about the cost of living, the value of the dollar's gone down, the way that the boomers behaved about, essentially all of their 401ks, and kids can't buy homes, kids can't afford all kinds of things. And that's all real. And that's the reality that they're living in, but they don't They don't have an experience with the things that were before the boomers. They don't have the experience with like the Great Depression. They don't have the experience without having the ability to just have food delivered on their apps, or all kinds of possible avenues to make revenue that the internet provides and stuff like that. So whereas I'm not saying that they're wrong, and I'm not saying that their struggles aren't real, I'm just saying that they are products of a time and a place, right? And you can't get outside of that context without experience. You can't just be like, if you're 20, 21, 22, 19, 20, 21, 22, and you're in the United States, that's all you've ever known. And you're not a bad person because that's all you've ever known.
You're not wrong that kids for the most part support these policies. The way these policies are framed is they're saying that Trump didn't roll back DEI. He rolled back protections for minority and marginalized groups. So by that nature, the whole point is that they're saying equal opportunity under the law, which is what it actually was before, which was beneficial to everyone, is now a bad thing. And they want to see the government, at least a lot of the young kids, the liberal kids, they like the idea that the federal government was willing to impose that because they feel that's a good thing. And that is a way towards communism, like you said.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.